Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Doctors in the House Health Show on 99.1 FM, WUJM, St. Petersburg Community Radio. We have an excellent program for you tonight. Please stay tuned. Hello, everyone. Good evening to you. Welcome to the Doctors in the House, your health show. And it's the program about wellness and disease prevention. I'm Dr. Morency, your host. Thank you for tuning in to 99.1 FM, WUGM, St. Petersburg, Florida. And welcome to all of those of you online at 99jamstheberg.com. And for those of you if wants to reach out the stations, you can call 727-637-2416. Anyway, tonight we have a wonderful, great show for you. And it's actually not just one show. We hope to make it a series because we're going to talk about stress. We're going to really drill down and talk about all the nitty-gritty of what stress is and how stress is in fact eating your body and your mind, and you may or may not know it. When I talk about stress, I did talk about stress on a prior show. That was 4 years ago when I first started the program. Stress was always a big problem. But yet we had not experienced COVID, okay? And COVID magnified everything. And as far as I'm concerned, stress has always been what I describe as an invisible killer. So you can imagine now it's much more worse. Let me give you a little bit of statistic just to show you how important this show is. Just a recent survey shows that 77% of people experience stress that affect their physical health. 73% of people have stress that impact their mental health. 48% have trouble sleeping because of stress. This is recently. And 33% of people reported feeling extreme stress where they get sick and cannot get better. More than 3 in 4 adults says the future of the United States, of our nation here, is a significant source of stress. This number is up from the data in 2019, when only 66% of adults felt that way. And 7 in 10 Americans, which is about 71%, says this is the lowest point in our nation history that they can remember. So stress is a big deal. And tonight, what we're hoping to do, not only in the show tonight, but in the subsequent show, is at least not only giving you information, but really raise your awareness about this problem that we cannot escape. All right? So this is a topic, as a family physician, this is a topic I'm very familiar with, not only personally, but, in my career for almost 40 years. And the connection between stress and the damage it can cause is well documented, as we just alluded to. Stress is sneaky. It's destructive. It's a bad actor. And we plan to address this in depth, all of that. And obviously, we will have to use more than one show to do that. But need to be patient and stay with us. Bear with us. This time, I am going to call for help. And I am not going to do this alone. And I have the privilege and the great honor to have with me on the phone my good friend and colleague, still in the front line, healing people all the way from San Diego, California, and throughout the United States. Dr. Carolle, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me.
Oh, Dr. Carolle, it's a pleasure. Welcome to the show, and thank you for accepting to join us to help our audiences. It's a pleasure to have you. So, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I spent 2 hours in my beautiful garden that I created from scratch when I was going through a very stressful time in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, so that's one of the ways to distress is you can spend some time outside.
Yeah.
And I heard it's very hot where you are, but early in the morning,
it's very
it's a good time
hard
to do that.
It's hard, but early in the morning, late at night, you get in touch with the element of nature.
You can get it, and that's what I did. I burned out 22 years ago in July.
So
I was on the.
Go ahead.
Yes, I was on a book tour in New York. You don't want to be stressed and go in a book tour. At the time, it was from one bookstore, Barnes and Nobles, to the next and all the boroughs. So, yeah, and that's why that changed my life, and I was lucky to have the right help.
Uh-huh.
And then, and that's what I dedicated the rest of my life.
Okay.
To show people and teach, because it's very simple. When you know, it's a very simple formula.
Let me ask you this, though. Can you tell the audience your credential a little bit, to know all the good, because I have a long page here. I want you to synthesize it for us.
Synthesize it. I am, I'm in my, 50 years ago, I was packing to go to medical school in Mexico. I born and raised in Haiti, wanted to be a doctor, learned so many things, healers in my family. And then I ended up going to medical school in Guadalajara in Mexico. And while I was there, my 4th year, I ended up spending 1 year with the Ministry of Health in 3 months in Spanish Town and 9 months in Mobay. So I'm part Jamaican. I say for that.
Yes.
Then I went back to Mexico.
So you did your training. You did your
Huh?
training in the United States, right?
Yeah, but I did 1 year as a family doctor in Mexico, and then I did my postgraduate training in obstetrics and gynecology.
Oh, okay.
In the U.S. Mount Sinai in New York, UCLA, and I been in San Diego as an obstetrician and gynecologist, and then burned out.
So you are the board certified gynecologist, and you are the senior doctor in that organization. And the other thing is you write books, and I read one of them.
Yeah, I write many books. I'm writing online courses to teach people. It's easy. It's an easy formula. Yes, I found the recipe.
Well, that's what was really attract my attention, because when you talk about stress, I am, as I told the audience, I'm very familiar with stress, and you have specific information you're going to discuss with us.
Yes.
And because certainly I know you have many, not only talent, but gift. So you can summarize this, you can help us out for all of us who are suffering, who cannot get out of stress. And at least my goal is tonight is at least bring this stuff to the awareness, because you know how we can deny when we live to something, we don't know how to deal with it. We forget about it, but in the meantime, it's doing its stuff. So tell us about stress then.
Okay. The stress is something that Mother Nature built into us. So to defend us, for example, like way in antiquity, when you hear, there is they call it a saber-toothed tiger. Say there is something running after you, so you would go. Your body start ripping up like a car of the engine that run fast, and you're pumping cortisol, all the many stress hormones, and to run, and then your heart is racing, and your blood pressure is risen.
So you mean when the lion, the elephant are chasing, the tiger are chasing you, and then you have massive warming or massive cold, and you have to deal with nature. So you rev up your engine, and then to run. So that was a survival mode. Okay.
But then what we're doing in this day and age, we constantly, whenever there is the stressor, even though we don't see anything in the surface, it's happening inside.
Yeah.
And that's what is killing us. And so one of the things, I like to do a little basic thing. So because my hope is that we'll be continuing doing many shows so the people who listen to us will understand find the tools that they need. But they have to understand what's happening in the beginning, and because this is what's going to cause the abnormal lab results. That when they go to the doctor, they can sleep and they do a blood work. They're going to see your cholesterol, your blood sugar, and all those things. And those are the consequences of that fight. They call it the fight or flight response.
Well, this is the emergency system you just described that we all have to fend off and actually survive those catastrophes, but not on an everyday basis chronically. So you mentioned in your thing, you talk about good stress and bad stress. Can you elaborate on this a little bit?
A good stress is something, for example, to make it simple, is something that is there to keep you going.
Okay.
Keep you going. It's happening, but you can deal with it and manage it. And stress, you could be stressed like you're going to take an exam or you're going to go to an interview.
Or the wedding.
And something is temporary. So there is many examples I could give.
Getting married at first.
Married.
Happy life, fall in love, and all those things.
Falling in love. Your heart is racing. You have no appetite.
Correct.
So there's so many things that are good. Those are part of life.
Yes.
And then there were things, and then we go on. But this is the one that, for example, watching television and the news and worrying about the world, things you cannot change. That is eating you like a termite eating a wall.
There's another thing we describe is like they call it the daily hustles.
Daily hustle.
You have kids, you don't have enough money, you're a single person, and you got to go to work, your car break down, on and on and on and on.
And then so what I do now is just like I do consult with people who are at the end of the rope. And they have diabetes, things that are not controlled, or cancer, whatever is happening with them. And this is the consequences, so we'll talk in future shows, the consequences of the stress that is causing them to be sick. Like you say, eating you up. And then, but the body has, what we describe in the fight or flight, it's the sympathetic nervous system that is pushing all the cortisol, all the adrenaline, all the rushing and the fight. But also, the body is a beautiful machine.
From what I understand about the that you're talking about here, the stress response. In other words, when you're faced with the stress, first of all, you got to realize the majority of the stuff is outside, and you have to evaluate it. You have to analyze it, and some of us, based on our level of whatever sophistication or whatever, we deal with the event, the situation differently. So for what maybe is really stressful for somebody, maybe an advantage where somebody can take an advantage of that. But that's what we call it, a good stress. That's why it's not all of them is going to be bad for you. Correct. So what I was gonna say is that when we realize, bam, this is stress, immediately the body sends a signal to the brain and tell them, okay, there's problem here. And then that's when the autonomic nervous system, as you were mentioning, the response start, okay? Can you just get a little detail on this?
Yes. And it's just like sometimes it's just like, and for example, sometimes we don't even have that. It is called, let's say, you're anxious, and it could be a memory. It doesn't have to be there. They call it like having fear because it's false something appearance appearing real.
Yeah.
If nothing is even there. It's just like you might hear something, a thought. It could be a thought.
Well,
you hear about something, something that triggers it.
I heard that. There's a neuroscientist in, actually, I think it's not UCLA, I think in San Francisco. He's a famous guy who wrote book and lectures. He said, man, if God knew when he give a brain, the cerebral cortex and all the upper brain to human being, he'd never realize that somebody could sit down and having everything they need and just a thought destroy them for the whole day.
Yes.
And more,
Yes. And one of the things we were talking is just like we have the parasympathetic system. That's what the fight or flight where we go. But the body has a way to calm it down, and that's for future shows, because we cannot cover everything. Because I like to do the basics. Just like we're building a house, we have to clean the place, build the foundation. So when the people will continue listening, they'll understand what we're talking about.
Okay.
So and it's just like the. So there were so many things, and sometimes it's unconscious. It's just like you feel your heart racing. You don't even know. It could be a thought or something you saw, something.
Something you perceive.
You're having a nightmare.
You perceive, as a danger, as a threat.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a perceived danger, and it could be a memory. It could be. It's just like I remember one time there was a firework, and then when I grew up in Haiti, like you, there was no fireworks. There was with Papa Dog. There was no fireworks, and then but I was involved in a bombing, so that means. So when I heard the fireworks for the first time, my heart started racing. I didn't even know. It just like it took me to the time where the bombing was occurring. So, and then sometimes we don't even know. So those are these things that can be undermined. So, and we have, like I said, we have the parasympathetic. It's a way to balance it. So one of the shows we're going to do in the future, so when you do all the basics, it's just like how to recognize the stress in your life, and then also how to deal with it.
To calm down a little bit. You know, the sympathetic system is putting your foot on the brake and push the gasoline, and then your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate goes up, and so on and so forth. You become vigilant, and the parasympathetic system just take the foot off the gas and calm down, give you time to recover. And
it will give them to recover.
So you can live another day. And that's the acute stress, by the way.
When acute, and the chronic stress is watching TV all the time, worried about the state of the world. Yeah. I am in my garden. I don't watch TV, and I say the only thing I need to know, like every July, they have new rules, new laws in California, and I said, everybody will tell you there is a fire somewhere. There is an earthquake. Some people always tell you. So I said they're the one who let me know there is a fire about 20 miles from my house. I don't spend my time constantly in stress, and that's why people feel they have to know. And I said no, you don't. And then so that's what I'm going to live. I'm 71 years old, going 50, and I plan to live. I'm very happy, the happiest time of my life, because I was able to, I'm applying all the things that I'm talking is now that I do when I do consult is to teach people whatever is happening in their life to say, hey, I'm going to show you how to take your foot off the gas. And so it's just like
You mentioned, so you still actually see people. I wanted to find out what's the magnitude of stress and the connections with disease in your sphere of action.
My sphere of action, I do consult. I do it over the phone, and it's not only I do it all over the world sometimes. And then and we have to look for time zone, and then it's just like imagine the body is a beautiful machine. I cut myself not too long ago, and I realized now I don't remember, was it on the left hand or the right hand? The body is constantly repairing itself. Constantly. The body is there for survival and if you want to. But it's very complicated. It's not that easy. So that's why we'll take a little show to show people more to learn.
That's okay. But while we're talking about this, let me illustrate what your point here. In spirituality, when we really think about the body, one of the yogis that I deal with, he said, there's no better sophisticated machine in the world, in the universe, in the entire thing than the body. The body has all the things that it needs to take care of itself, to repair itself, and the body actually gives us signal. Which we ignore sometimes, most of the time.
And you were asking me, the people that I deal with, they've been having the signals, and then they're like having a headache or cannot sleep. So what they go to the doctor, say, give me a pill. But then, by the time they try it, you're going to sleep. But pretty soon, your body is going to become tolerant because you didn't deal with the root cause. I call it the root cause because the symptoms. This is my form. The things I always say: a symptoms is the tip of the iceberg.
Well, actually,
and they're pointing to something deeper. So, in my gift as an intuitive consultant, I make people see the cause of what's going on, and then they can deal with it. But before, I have to explain what we're starting to do the first show, is explain how the body works.
I understand. And finish with the body. Let me compliment you. Let me add a compliment. The body love balance. The body love this homeostatic, we call it a balance.
Yes.
In other words, the temperature goes up, immediately things happen. Okay, you become thirsty, you're going to drink water, you start sweating to get rid of the heat, and so that the body can restore balance. Now, if you're aware of how the body works, you can actually drink some water to help it, to compensate. But it take care of that part, at least for the emergent moment, so you can have time to do what you need to do.
Okay.
There are people who are diabetic for a long time, but they miss the initial signal, which may be, they're thirsty, they start losing weight, but they don't realize that because it goes away.
We're going to have a show just on diabetes because that's my specialty now. Because I have a dear friend of mine died of complication of diabetes, and I'm dedicating the rest of my life to help people quickly reverse their diabetes. Remember, you tell me the people I see in person. I am the program director for innovative program for type 2 diabetes remission, and it's just like the people I see, they've been diabetic for years, hemoglobin A1C, and their blood sugar in the 300s, and then I just find out what is the cause, what is causing them to have high blood sugar. Because when you're under stress, you're pumping adrenaline and cortisol, and the cortisol, that's what is causing the blood sugar to be elevated.
The cortisol is steroid, right? Steroid, which is not necessarily good.
No, cortisol.
Cortisol, yes.
Cortisol. It's what is pumping, part of the stress. When you're chronic stress, you're constantly pumping the cortisol and
from
the adrenaline.
From the
adrenal
gland, yes, one of the stress hormones. Yeah.
The stress hormones, yes.
And then
and that's what. And then you are saying the sign, and that's why you might go in the doctor in the beginning. They say, "Oh, your blood sugar is elevated," and then it's pre-diabetes. But why? And then that's what I do. I make people find the why and deal with it, and then it's going to be back to normal because the body is ready.
Okay.
Yes.
So since we're doing a survey today, though, and we're going to touch on detail in all those segments.
We will.
In different shows, since, believe it or not, time is flying when you're having fun. In terms of all the chronic disease, and we know there are many, many risk factors, okay? So where do you put stress, chronic stress, as a risk factor for all those chronic diseases? Cardiovascular disease, diabetes, hypertension,
all of them.
Cancer.
All of them. The cortisol, the adrenaline, scientifically proven. And the I would say, when I say 80% of doctors' visit, hospitalization and chronic disease are due to stress. And I leave the 20% when you were in a car accident, somebody, you get hurt physically, and the body doesn't have a chance to repair itself or badly damaged. Yeah. But otherwise, 80% of everything.
Yeah.
But then it's just like it's different for each person. Like you say, so for something that will be a stress, for somebody it is not for the other. So, and to teach what I do with my patients is just like to say is personalized. It's personalized. Each person is different. We're complicated species. So then that's why I only work with few people, and we find out what it is for you. What is it? What is it? What is your triggers? Yes.
Well, let me clarify something that I said so that people understand. Really, what you call stress, really the event, the event, whether it's catastrophic or chronic or whatever, it's really outside the body.
Yes.
So you have to perceive it, you have to look at it, and then determine how important or as devastating it is to you or not, whether it's devastating or not, because we interpret all those things based on our background and our, condition of living, so to speak. So that's why it's so different in different people, because there are people who may see this stuff, they don't necessarily react
to it. They don't react to it.
To it, and then they calm down. They take a minute to see the perspective, the big picture, so to speak. So they're able to neutralize the effect. Where there are folks who are totally automatic. The minute this thing touch, they even think of worst case scenario, so to speak, which is a bias that no scientist now shows, because we all think of the worst possible case.
I would say some. I'm an optimistic.
Well,
I see the best out of everything.
We're just talking about it there. We're just talking about how we see things different.
That's what I say. I say, oh no, I'm not part of it. I say, some people.
Cool. Well, yeah, different. There's different level of growth and maturity and all those things. And then there's a condition under which people live. Now,
and that's why we're doing the show. To impart them the knowledge that we have, that we're able to, things are happening with everybody, but how some people do stress about something and some people don't. So that's what our show is about.
Correct. And then what I trying to pin down as well in terms of the subsequent show is that at least when we say the stress is so bad it can eat you up, it's not just the body. It's not one disease. Like you said, it's every disease plus your mental health, your mind, your psychological thing. This is all. And then for folks, unfortunately, who've had chronic trauma in their life, this is almost like so tough to deal with, because what happened is there's no blood test actually that measures stress. And so somebody can have perfectly normal blood tests, at least in the beginning, and they feel terrible. They have chronic headache, they cannot sleep, they can die, and it's stress. But you have to be, as a clinician, I used to be very gentle, diplomatic when I tell people, you know what, we did all the stuff and it all come fine, but this is how you live.
and that's why we're doing to do, hopefully people will like it, and otherwise I'm very busy. I always say, I really want to do the teaching. So we'll take it little by little, so they really understand. Because, for example, why do some people stress and some people don't? Why?
That's we can discuss that. There's so many
beautiful things that we can discuss
involved. Now, the other thing before we go, since the time is running out, I was trying to kind of get a sense of is, there are many other risk factors for disease. Food is one of them. Lack of physical activity and stress and abuse of chemicals, whether it's nicotine or alcohol. There's a lot of factors in stress. But, so on this scale, I would say, how do you, rank stress actually as...
all these addictions and all what we call addictions, it's because some past trauma, usually the trauma, it's finding a way out. And then we'll cover in the shows if it's, it's just there were so many things that the people will understand, but why can't?
So in other words,
I don't do this. So it's a whole. It took me. I started medical school 50 years ago. It takes me 50 years to learn all this. So you make people understand. They continue watching the show
to understand this, to understand it, but somehow. The stress is dormant there. The stress is underlying, especially if you cannot talk and listen to somebody you may not know.
Yes.
Because if you look at the medical structure at this particular point in time, I don't want to minimize anything, but we're so in a rush to prescribe a pills or to do all kind of tests where you can actually ask the question genuinely and
why?
be ready.
You know what the simple question? Why can't you sleep? And that's what I do.
Yeah.
Why can't you sleep?
And
the
then
person will tell you.
And you listen.
Yeah.
You listen. Yeah.
I listen. And then also, so since our time is running out, one of the things we need to do is just like until the next show, is just like people ask themselves, what is causing them to be stressed?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, take a note and say, what is it that stresses me?
Well, the thing about it is, though, is first of all, is my purpose is also having you also helping me here, is number one, increase the awareness that you actually acknowledge your stress.
Yes.
You acknowledge it, and then you ask the question, why am I stressed?
Yes, and there is a lot of answers. It's going to be different.
And then you have to go dig and dig and dig.
Oh, and hopefully we don't in the show we'll be showing them. You have to go and dig with it. This is one way to do it.
I am looking forward, Dr. Carolle. I'm looking forward to your technique.
It's so easy
to do instead of doing all those tests and stuff like that. And if there's a little trick you know, to let us know. Okay, I think what we talked about. And planning those shows is probably we're gonna really discuss the trigger, all the triggers, all the things that cause stress,
what could trigger,
and then I will let you talk about the specific disease process, because there are a lot of people who are listening to us. I know a lot of folks who have diabetes, and some of them are not in control and they don't know why, and then so.
Oh, that's what I do.
It sounds like you have the answer for that. So this is something to go ahead.
Yes.
So in other words, today we talked about what is stress, the good stress and bad stress, the mechanism of stress. In other words, stress is something normal, and the stress reaction for the acute stress is actually something we're given by our Creator to help us get out of this. Yes. But the dilemma is the fact that this acute thing now become every day.
Chronic.
And we were not supposed to really survive that way.
No.
So we have to find how to create the balance, how to do this.
Yes.
Well, Dr. Carolle, I am looking forward to have that next show with you.
Of course, and many more. I hope we'll continue doing
Well, you know me. I take it one show at a time, but the plan that's the plan, okay? And then because I've read up your book and I've known your career, and I know you have so much experience and wisdom, and I'm looking forward to see how we can benefit your knowledge to help our audiences. So,
my pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and then we'll communicate. Thank you for coming to the show.
Okay, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening, and I hope you get a taste of what's coming. We plan to do many shows like I suspected we're going to do, and I hope you take something out of it, but we're going to address all the trigger factors, the thing that really get people under stress, and then from there help you navigate how to bring it up to the surface to deal with your chronic disease. Dr. Morency, at your service, thank you very much. I'll see you next month. Okay? Thanks.
This is Cara Festo Radio. 99 Gems, The Berg.